The big banks got a real cushy settlement with the attorneys general last year. Well, that cushy settlement got a little bit better when the IRS determined that they do not have to pay taxes on the money they owe foreclosure, folks who were foreclosed on illegally. We're also going to talk with Adam Mason today with Iowa CCI about Bruce Rastetter's latest mischief. And we're going to talk about the secrecy shrouding the superintendent's search in Des Moines Public Schools. We got a few people coming on to join us. Hopefully, we'll also hear from somebody with the Des Moines district itself.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
This moment of silence brought to you by Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering, home of Des Moines' premier rooftop dining experience. Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
On March 28th, Equal Justice After Hours is Iowa Legal Aid's annual fundraiser that helps provide access to justice for low-income Iowans. The event includes a reception and program at the Temple for the Performing Arts in Des Moines. It also includes remarks by Georgetown University law professor Peter Edelman and the induction of Robert Oberbillig into the Iowa Legal Aid Hall of Fame. Tickets start at $50 and sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Terry Bennett at tbennett@iowalaw.org. That's tbennett@iowalaw.org.
I'm a burrito.
I'm a fighting burrito, full of fresh ingredients prepared before your very eyes.
I don't have eyes.
I have over 28 options and 268 million combinations, including Rizo for vegetarians.
I can take my meat off and call myself vegetarian.
Put that back on. The Fighting Burrito is locally owned.
I'm owned by some big corporation somewhere. Say, you want to go on a date?
No thanks. I'm seeing a quesadilla.
The Fighting Burrito online, fightingburrito.com. Join the fight.
Hello, Mid-American Energy.
I'm very concerned that you want to bill me an extra $5,000 to build a nuclear reactor. Do you know we're in the middle of a recession?
Oh, we were hoping you wouldn't hear about that until after the legislature had taken action.
Why not let your shareholders pick up the tab?
Oh, way too risky for our shareholders. We need you, our loyal customers, to pay for it.
Wait, let me see if I understand this. Mid-American wants to build a nuclear power plant in 10 or 20 years, and they want me to pay for it now?
That's right.
Well, I'll just take my business elsewhere.
Sorry, we're a monopoly. What we say goes.
I've heard nuclear power is more expensive than other sources.
Yes, it is.
And I've heard there's no plan for how to dispose of nuclear waste.
We're looking at shooting it into the sun.
Well, I'm not going to sit back and let you make bad decisions with my money.
We're betting you will.
Stop Mid-American's power grab. Call your legislators today. 281-3371. 281-3371.
Paid for by Physicians for Social Responsibility.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Brother Trucker kicking us off, folks, as always, here on a Monday morning. Barely not. No, we're beyond morning now, folks. We're 1 minute into the afternoon, and boy, it feels great. I want to thank Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club and Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility for sponsoring this program. And I also want to thank Gateway Market for sponsoring this segment of our show. And every once in a while, an article really catches your attention, and you say, what the heck? Okay, so there's a dinosaur theme park in Secaucus, I think is how you say it, New Jersey, Secaucus, New Jersey. It's called the Field Station Dinosaurs, and it's this interactive display. I guess they come rushing after you, chomping their teeth, attacking you, getting you with their little T-Rex claws. I don't know. But The article also talks about Barney and the Associated Press journalist, I don't really know who made the decision, decided to say, the caption reads, Barney incorrectly portrays the dinosaur as having an upright posture. It's a cartoon character and a caricature. It's a puppet. Who cares if it's upright or on its face or belly? I mean, lighten up, folks. I don't care if Barney is not anatomically correct, all right? That's just silly. All right. We're going to talk in a bit about Bruce Rastetter and his latest mischief, getting a whole lot of attention from Iowa CCI. Adam Mason's going to be joining us. Later in the program, we're going to talk about the Des Moines Public Schools. You know, I got a lot of folks I really like down there. I think the school system itself did a fantastic job with my kids and so many other people's kids, but I do not understand this lust for secrecy. It did not work well with the dismissal of Nancy Sebring, and I don't think it's a good idea to start off your search for a superintendent to replace her with a cloud of secrecy. We're going to talk about that with a bunch of people later in the show. But first, I got to call attention to the latest development in the mortgage settlement. This is the bank settlement that the attorneys general across the country put together. Tom Miller was the head of that. Iowa's own Tom Miller, one of 50 attorney generals, and again, because of his closeness to Obama, he had the distinction, and I'm not sure to call it an honor, a distinction, because that had to be one heck of a lot of work, of overseeing this operation. And you know, the problem was folks who were paying close attention to the amount of money that the big banks stole. I mean, let's call it what it is. It was illegal. What they did was not just wrong or bad or shame on you. It was wrong. It was illegal. They broke the law. They broke a bunch of laws with this robo-signing business that they were conducting. You know, the 5 or 6 biggest banks in this country were culpable to the tune of about $750 billion. Yeah, the B word, billion. And they got a slap on the corporate wrist. They ended up being held accountable for about $25 billion of that. Now, Iowa got a chunk of that. I want to say we got around $45 million. And a lot of that is being used for administration. A lot of that's padding government coffers, staff positions, the hotline, the foreclosure hotline, and some of that's good. I question whether all of it is being used correctly. And I'd love to have that conversation with somebody with the Attorney General's office. But nailing down somebody from the AG's office to come on this program has been an effort in futility. And I'm very frustrated with that. I mean, Patrick Madigan, who I've worked with before, has indicated that he will come on this program sometime later this month. I've been trying to get him on this program since December. You know, so I don't feel a person involved with trying to report on the news, trying to provide commentary and discussion about important issues, should wait 4 months to get a comment from somebody with the office, the agency that's responsible for looking into this stuff. Okay, so Chuck Grassley is apparently our friend on this. Well, here's the new catch. The new catch is this. The IRS, an agency loved dearly by Americans from coast to coast, the IRS ruled that the bank's compensation to homeowners, the money the banks are required to pay back to people they stole it from because of illegal foreclosures, that money they're able to claim that money as fully tax deductible. Oh, I love this. So instead of going to jail, prison, as some of these CEOs and corporate executives should have, and if you remember, early on when Tom Miller was just starting off this settlement committee, CCI folks challenged him on whether or not people would be going to jail. He said yes. Well, they certainly haven't gone to jail. Again, in terms of the actual dollar amount they were required to pay back, a slap on the wrist. And now, not only do they have to pay back a very small portion of what they stole, but they get a tax break on it. And not just a tax break, but a fully deductible tax break. How many shades of wrong is this? How many shades of crazy is this? I mean, I can't imagine anybody not thinking this is ridiculous. Okay, so trying to get a comment from Tom Miller's office on this has been like pulling teeth. So this morning I issued the ultimatum. Look, I got to get a comment from this because I'm going to talk about it today. I'm tired of waiting on this. So no response. Again, left a message with Patrick Madigan, spoke with somebody else, tried to get a message into Jeff Greenwood. I've about had it up to here with the AG's office, folks. So anyway, the tax deduction. Okay, well, Chuck Grassley at least weighed in on this. He said, quote, the taxpayers end up subsidizing the Wall Street banks after the headlines of a big dollar settlement die down. Okay. I mean, I'm glad he said that. I hope he follows it up with doing the appropriate thing in terms of legislation. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. The guy who does seem to get this is Senator Sherrod Brown. He's a Democrat from Ohio. He has been pushing for regulators to change the IRS ruling, to bar the deductibility of these banks' costs in this mortgage settlement. And in a letter he sent recently to the Federal Reserve and to other top regulators in the country, Senator Brown said, quote, breaking the law should not be a business expense. Because that's how the IRS is determining they're able to fully deduct what they're paying back to home closures. To homeowners who were foreclosed on. Somehow that is a legitimate business expense. I'm trying to think of comparisons. So, I got a parking ticket. I had to park downtown in order to go to this meeting, and the meeting went on a little bit long, and I come out and I've got a $15 parking ticket. I assume under this ruling, this kind of way of thinking, that I should be able to deduct that parking ticket from my taxes fully. I mean, that's the kind of logic here. So again, I wish Senator Brown luck in this effort. I hope Senator Grassley is sincere in his at least ostensible interest in working with the senator on this because, and more folks ought to be paying attention to this because the more you pay attention, and maybe this is why they don't, because the more you pay attention, the more inclined you are to lose your lunch. Anyway, that's the foreclosure front for today, folks. And if you see Attorney General Tom Miller, please tell him I said hi, and I'd love to get a comment from him or his staff on how they feel about this development in an effort that they spent a lot of time on. Surely they can't be pleased. But surely if they were really upset, they would have responded within the last 4 months. Okay, on to other matters. Everybody loves the big banks. And of course, when it comes to corporate heroes, there ain't no better than Bruce Rastetter. He's loved just not just here in Iowa, but all the way over in Tanzania as well. But we're not looking at his shenanigans in Tanzania today. We're looking at his shenanigans right here in Iowa, specifically at the University of Iowa. And with me in the studio is Adam Mason. Adam is with Iowa CCI, a group that has been doing a really good job at tracking Rastetter's erratic behavior. And I'm going to call it that. Maybe that's too strong of a term. But what he did at the University of Iowa is beyond appropriate, in my opinion. But maybe you can sum it up for us, Adam.
Sure. Thanks, Ed. It's pretty simple, actually. He didn't like he was contacted by a lobbyist for the Iowa Renewable Fuels Association. That lobbyist didn't like one of the reports that a professor at the University of Iowa was presenting on.
And Monty Shaw was the lobbyist, I believe.
That's correct.
And Gerald Schnur, the professor at the University of Iowa.
Exactly.
Someone I have a lot of respect for. I think he's done a really good job.
Yeah, he's highly renowned in his field and basically gave a speech saying that, we shouldn't expand the ethanol industry in Iowa until ethanol production becomes more efficient. That was the gist of it. Well, Monty Shaw and the Iowa Renewable Fuels Association didn't like that. They sent an email to the governor and to Regent Rastetter. Regent Rastetter took it then upon himself to contact the president, Sally Mason at U of I, to basically stifle the direction the professor was taking.
Has anybody asked Mr. Shaw, again, the renewable fuels representative, why he didn't take his complaint directly to Mr. Schnur?
I believe that he has been asked. I'm not 100% sure. I wasn't there as part of the conversation, but what I heard...
Really? They didn't invite you?
No.
I can't imagine.
We weren't at the table for that discussion. But basically thought that, that the governor and Regent Rastetter should be aware of what was going on, was his explanation.
Okay.
So
tell him directly, yeah.
Exactly.
And why did he send the letter to the other? Did he contact other members of the Board of Regents or just Rastetter?
Just Rastetter.
I mean, how many, again, eyebrows, if they could go up a little bit higher.
Exactly.
You know, if they didn't run into forehead, you know, they'd be going pretty high right now. That's very questionable.
That's right. And
Very
so,
questionable.
you know, over the last year, this, by our count, this is the fourth scandal that Rastetter's been involved in on the Board of Regents. You know, starting last summer when he tried to use ISU as to further his own private investments in Tanzania, like you mentioned.
Yes, and that resulted in Iowa State University backing out of the arrangement.
That's right. Next, he had the gall to hire his own PR spokesperson as a lobbyist for Iowa State University. So
a PR spokesperson who worked for him in the private sector
exactly
was hired to be the regent's
lobbyist
at the State House.
Yes, on behalf of Iowa State specifically.
I missed that one. I didn't know about that one.
The reason you missed it was because the regents didn't even advertise the position. They didn't follow open hiring guidelines. They just made the decision that they were going to hire.
Is that legal?
They claimed that for expediency they needed to move on it. We don't believe that it was.
Okay. So who was? I mean, am I allowed to ask who that person was?
Yes, I don't have his name in front of me.
Okay.
But it's public record now.
All right. That one somehow maybe I was aware of it at the time, but it's been buried amidst other issues and concerns that are piling up in the minimally capable noggin. Anyway.
That's right. So then we're...
What, you're agreeing with me that my dog is minimally capable? I can put my cell down, Adam, but you can't jump on top of it. Come on.
No, your noggin's extremely capable.
Well, there you go.
And then obviously we're all familiar with Senator Harkin having to pull his papers, his research papers. So, you know, this latest example of Regent Rastetter basically using the Regent's institutions to further his own personal interests shouldn't come as a surprise, but it's time that something change.
Yeah. So what is gonna change?
Well, one of the things that we're looking at is again legislation at the State House. There is a bill that's been introduced to kind of rein in this kind of behavior at the regents.
Dan, I'm almost surprised because I mean, remember Rastetter had to be confirmed by the Senate. He was appointed by the governor, which no surprise there. I mean, yeah, sure, you're going to appoint one of your biggest contributors to whatever perk he wants. But what surprised me was that the legislature went right along with confirming him. And maybe because Rastetter has a bunch of friends like Jack Hatch on the Democratic side of the aisle in the Senate as well.
Right. There's definitely no shortage of business ties, of campaign contribution ties, things like that. While Rastetter traditionally is a Republican donor, he has given across the aisle as well. Yeah. So those ties do run deep.
Yeah. So, okay. So, again, maybe we shouldn't be surprised that he was confirmed. And for the reason that he was confirmed, I'm a little surprised that there are any leaders in the legislature willing to take on this problem. But I'm glad to hear that. Who's leading the charge?
Well, leading the charge is Senator Jeff Danielson from Cedar Falls and Senator Herman Kornbach from Ames.
So two of the university towns.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. You know, Senator Danielson has been working with some of his constituents who really were upset about the pulled funding from the Price Lab School up there.
And that was a regent's decision as well.
Yes. In fact, right. Regent Rastetter made the motion to pull the funding. So
nice.
So there's a personal connection there.
Okay.
And Senator Kornbach, obviously being an economics professor at ISU, immediately recognized basically the conflict of interest that a regent approaching a university president instead of the professor himself would present.
Folks, if you'd like to weigh in on the Bruce Rastetter conversation here with myself, Ed Fallon, and with Adam Mason with Iowa CCI, there's the number you can call. It's 244-0077 or toll-free 855-244-0077. So again, the legislation by Senator Jeff Danielson has been introduced.
Right, and that would go a long way in kind of reining in these abuses we've seen by Regent Rastetter. For example, you couldn't hire somebody who had worked for your own private business for the last 2 years as a lobbyist, kind of closing down that open door between the private sector and the regents' schools. It would require that regents hold public comment at the beginning of every meeting. Right now, the regents is one of the few state boards that doesn't have any public comment.
Right.
So for folks who want to petition the regents, it's a very powerful institution. There's no opportunity to do that right now.
Right.
This would force that. Similarly, it would also require that the regents go around the state holding public listening sessions
throughout the school year.
Throughout the school year and throughout the state.
Okay.
So those are just
and to be clear, this isn't like a volunteer position. This is a paid position.
Yes.
And I can't remember. Maybe you happen to know how much the regents are paid.
I don't off the top of my head.
I don't think it's chump change.
No.
I think they're doing better than a community organizer or a progressive talk show host.
That's right.
All right. So putting some stipulations on what the taxpayers expect for, in terms of their performance, in terms of their accountability, that's not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
Now, okay, so you mentioned a few things here, but the one thing that's on my mind that I think is most important is the conflict of interest that tend to accompany regents' appointees. I mean, Craig Lang, I would argue that he's got some conflicts of interest as well.
Definitely.
You can make arguments about some of the previous ones as well. And again, nobody's going to be free of any relationships or connections that might at times, present the image of a conflict. But with Rastetter, it is so blatant, so out there. And there are certainly people in the past, too, who fit that description. Does this legislation also try to take a shot at that?
It really does. It would prohibit a member of the board or the executive director of that board from having any kinds of business or financial relationships with any people employed by the state regents' schools. Now, for most people who serve on boards, they understand conflict of interest and willingly, remove themselves or abstain from votes that might have something to do with their own personal interests.
Right.
But what we've seen here on the Board of Regents, as you mentioned, with Craig Lang and especially with Regent Rastetter, is an unwillingness to do that.
Right.
Almost an attitude that they believe that the Board of Regents should be working for them.
So I guess I'm not surprised that if any legislation is going to happen, it's going to come from Democrats. I'm also not surprised that it's going to come from university towns. I still know that there is plenty, that Rastetter has plenty of Democratic friends at the State House, and maybe they will try to squash this thing from going too far in the Senate. But I also suspect that among Republicans, he's got all sorts of allies, and that it's very unlikely to see that action move beyond the Senate, presuming it even makes it out of the Senate.
I think you're right, Ed. There's not a great hope for this getting through the House, and ultimately, if it landed on Governor Branstad's desk somehow, most likely Governor Branstad would veto this legislation as a plain favor to a major campaign donor who he's already rewarded with a very cushy government post.
Most likely, you think? Yeah, I'm going to say you're being very most likely.
Yes.
Most likely the sun will rise tomorrow morning.
Exactly.
And most likely this legislation makes it through the Senate and House. Branstad will veto it.
Yes. I'd be willing. I'm not a betting man, but I'd be willing to wager on that. So.
All right. So what can folks do if they want to get involved with this, other than learning more about it? But certainly, I think we have an opportunity to do something, to put our money where our mouth is, so to speak, and to get on board some legislation that's good. So what do we do?
The best thing to do is to contact your own elected officials. The legislation we were talking about is Senate Study Bill 1163, and that is the bill that we were talking about to rein in the regions. I think just contacting your legislator, telling them to support Senate Study Bill 1163, telling your legislator that you want them to do something to rein in this kind of abuse of power at the regions. That's what we need to happen right now.
All right. Good stuff. Adam Mason, folks, with Iowa CCI, always doing good work on behalf of the people, even when those in power forget that we exist. Again, I am glad to have Senator Danielson and Senator Korenbach both taking a shot at this issue as well. We've got to take a short break here, folks. I do want to thank Gateway Market for sponsoring this segment of the program. Gateway Market is at 20th and Woodland. Again, I'm there all the time for groceries. You name it, they got it. Not just the stuff you eat, but the stuff you put on your hair, if you have hair, the stuff you brush your teeth with, whatever that's called, all that kind of stuff. They've got it at Gateway Market, and they've got a fantastic cafe as well. Breakfast, lunch, and supper. And yeah, I'm going to do the latter there tonight because they have a great selection, not just of wonderful entrees, but also of really healthy vegetables that aren't just cooked to death. I hate it when they cook vegetables to death. Places do that. You won't find me eating at those places too often. Anyway, folks, check them out. Gateway Market at 20th and Woodland. In the Sherman Hill neighborhood, keep your money in the local community and support good food and great community. I'll be back in just a minute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 1 of webcast1live.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
That's right. That's a glorious coat of arms of the Fallon family right there. See that and quake in fear. The Greyhound with a lance. Don't mess with the Greyhound with a lance, I'll tell you. That's Babers Neighbors bringing us back to our conversation. And I want to thank Community CPA and Associates for sponsoring this segment of our show. This issue it's a big issue. I mean, we've been talking about secrecy in the border regions, where Bruce Rastetter quietly, calls the head honcho at the University of Iowa to try to silence somebody saying something that is unpalatable in terms of his private interest. We saw secrecy at the Attorney General's office, it's just, I get really, really tired of government thinking that it has some right to act quietly. Now, last year, doesn't seem like that long ago. Last year, almost a year ago, in fact, the school board was kind of called to task for being very secretive in how it handled the challenges surrounding the dismissal of Nancy Sebring. And I had thought, well, wait, it's learned its lesson. It's going to be more open, more forthcoming, more public. And now here we go with a headline that has as much alliteration in it as you might have think I wrote it. Secrecy surrounds superintendent search. And I do not get it. And of course, it's not just that they're not sharing a lot of public information with us about how the search is being conducted. But I tried to get a response from one of the school board members today. Nothing. I don't know if that's how they handle all the press or just the ones they don't like. But I'm actually a big supporter of the Des Moines public school system. I've paid a lot of money to them, put 2 kids through them, and I think very highly of it overall. I don't like this newfound longing for secrecy. And I got a few people in the studio talking with me about it today. I would have loved to have somebody from the Des Moines School District, somebody from the board in my studio, but we got some great talent here and some great looking talent. Thatcher Williams is with me. Thatcher actually is behind a campaign to encourage people to shop local, I guess, when it comes to the school district superintendent search. Andrew Rasmussen is no stranger to the show. He's been on this program before as the head of the Iowa. The Des Moines, the Des Moines Education Association. There you go, the DMEA, and Joe Henry, who wears a bunch of hats, and today's hat is
Save and Support Our Schools.
Save and Support Our Schools. It used to be called Support Our Schools. Now it's Save and Support Our Schools.
Right. Also from the Latino community too.
Yeah, that's right. And you've been working on trying to prevent legislation that
voter
would suppress
suppression,
the vote.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's start with you guys, Joe and Andrew. What's your take on this? Am I overreacting? Do I need to calm down a bit and take a chill pill?
You're not. Public schools. We have the biggest public school in Iowa. 32,000 kids go to Des Moines Public Schools. 327 million, or according to some articles, over $400 million is spent by Des Moines citizens on Des Moines schools.
That's beyond what the state spends.
Yes. So it's a public school, requires public hearings, public meetings. When it comes to selecting the next superintendent, we should have a public meeting on who that superintendent will be. We should be able to find out who the candidates are. The leadership there on the school board should let us know what's going on. It makes total sense to do that.
So what's your, Andrew? Why would they want to be so secretive? I really don't get it, especially after what happened last year with Nancy Seaborg.
Right, I understand that, and this is kind of actually par for the course as far as standard operating procedure for searches for superintendents in school districts throughout the country. In that these semifinalists may not want their current employer to know that they're searching for a new job, and so that is sometimes why they do this through secrecy, where they don't reveal the semifinalists. That's par for the course in most cases. However, it's not law, it's not required. And I kind of thought when I was asked about this for the article, I thought maybe a compromise or a hybrid would be okay. You keep the names secret, but let some community members in on the interviews that are going on right now in a secret bunker somewhere on Dean Avenue.
So how would that compromise work? How would you?
Well, I think Joe Henry would be great to be on that committee right now doing interviews.
But who would select it? Why would a board that is inclined to operate in secret want to?
Excellent.
Why would we expect they would select people that would be? I just
right.
It's a horrible compromise, Andrew.
Okay, I'm sorry, but
kind of jump in there.
Sure.
I really think that we should be looking at candidates that are willing to go public, to put out their names, that they're willing to apply. It just makes sense. Parents and citizens here in Des Moines rarely have the opportunity to find out what the next superintendent's going to be like. So we need to know, we need to have discussions, there needs to be public meetings. Even going farther than that, the Des Moines School Board should be having meetings in the neighborhoods where the kids go to schools so that parents can get involved. Most parents are not going to know about who the next candidate is going to be until they read it in the paper after the selection is done.
Yeah. So, my thought is we've had 2 superintendents recently who were part of a national search who came here from somewhere else. And I don't know how folks feel about him, but I was absolutely not an Eric Witherspoon fan. I didn't get to know Nancy Seaborg that well, but apparently she did not work out that well either. But I think a lot of folks, are not happy with the legacy of neighborhood school destruction that Eric Witherspoon left in his wake. I'm a big fan of buying local, shopping local, hiring local. I look at the Des Moines, the city of Des Moines itself, you see the beautiful downtown skyline behind us. You know, Des Moines, in my opinion, Des Moines right now has the best city manager I've ever seen, Bruce Clark. And maybe some of you might disagree, but I like Bruce. I think he's doing a fantastic job, even though we might disagree on some things. Principal financial, you know, there are things we're going to disagree on, but he's doing a good job, and he's local. He came through the farm team. Why not hire somebody that comes through the farm team? And I'd be open to any considerations of possibilities. But Thatcher, I know you've been working specifically to encourage folks to buy local when it comes to potential candidate Tom Ahart, who is the current interim superintendent.
Correct.
So
well, yes, and one of my main points or thrusts of why I'm a supporter of Tom Ahart for our next permanent superintendent is that when you are hiring the associate superintendent, or essentially the deputy superintendent, you're looking for someone who, whenever you're hiring anyone, you're looking for someone who, in a moment's notice, can step into the position that's right above them. We select vice presidents that way, we select lieutenant governors that way, and so forth and so on. But in a business model, we hire or promote individuals into positions where we feel that they can also perform better in a higher position. Right. And we've got a great individual with Tom Ahart. He's been the associate superintendent since 2011. Of course, the interim superintendent since last year. His background in school administration, teaching in Central Iowa, teaching in Iowa in general, is a very deep.
Yeah, I got to know him when he was at Harding Middle School.
Right.
Yeah.
3 years principal at Harding Middle School.
Yeah.
At that point, he brought about a couple of changes at Harding. Sometimes there was a little bit of controversy around those, but I think they've proved, as we look back on the results, that the decisions that were made during his tenure at Harding Middle School have bettered that school.
Yeah, yeah. No, they certainly have. I think it's a great school. And now there may be other local candidates. I really don't know. I mean, he's the only one we've heard of, and it's logical because, again, he is the interim superintendent.
Right. Yeah, we have not, again, this goes back to the secrecy of the Des Moines School Board. We do not know exactly how many of the original 49 applicants were Central Iowans, let alone Iowans, or how many of the 14 that were suggested by the consulting firm that went to the school board with the list of 14, how many of those were Iowans, Central Iowans, or had a background? And, we currently don't know who the current 6 are. They're going to be interviewed this week.
Yeah, and I currently don't know what kind of response the Des Moines Public School members would give to the question, why the secrecy, because they have refused to provide that answer.
They're keeping it secret.
But Andrew, you raised one point, the possibility that an existing superintendent somewhere else in the country might risk losing his or her job if they were to get out that they were trying to apply elsewhere.
Right.
Well, my feeling is you should be honest with your people back home too. If you are looking elsewhere, and what's wrong with that? I mean, people look for other jobs all the time.
Yeah, I think this is the context, this is the tradition that's been the way it has been, and there's no reason that the Des Moines School Board couldn't have said we're going to do it differently. It's a matter of an agreement between those semifinalists and the district. They sign a little piece of paper saying we're going to keep your name secret. The district didn't need to do that. The school board did not need to do that, just as the school board could have reached out to more community members. And I think that is above and beyond everything else. That is kind of the symptom here that continues, is this difficulty in reaching out to the community by this school board. And over time, and I think this is a long-term problem, it has turned off a lot of community members to the school board meetings. Unless they're shutting down a school, there's very few people at school board meetings anymore attending, speaking at those meetings. And I think that's a symptom of so many people through the years that have been, pushed away, turned off by this lack of access and feeling that they're not being heard.
Folks, if you'd like to join the conversation, if you agree with any of us, if you think we're all crazy, or if you got something we haven't even covered, you're welcome to call any way, shape, or form. 244-0077. Or toll free, it's 855-244-0077. This is your forum as much as it is mine and my guests. We're talking with Joe Henry with Save and Support Our Schools, Andrew Rasmussen, he's the president of the Des Moines Education Association, and Thatcher Williams, who is leading a community drive, I guess, to encourage folks to support Tom Ahart. We'll be back with more conversation in just a few minutes. I do want to get a little bit more information from Joe as to what his organization is focused on. But I also want to get a take of the timeline. How much How long is this search going to last? I mean, again, 49 original applicants. What can we expect in terms of the conclusion of the project, of the search? At one point, is the public going to be able to have any input at all, or are we just going to be told, hey, here's the guy or gal we hired with your money, love it or leave it? And the other question I have is, what happens this fall? Is there some fallout from the secrecy around this search, from the whole way this thing's been handled, that might lead to some turnover in this fall school board election? We'll talk about all that when we come back here on the Fallon FOrum. And I do want to thank Community CPA and Associates for sponsoring this segment of our show. If you are a single person filing a typical W-2, you can do that for under $100, $97, and you can file your taxes with Community CPA. They're located at 3816 Ingersoll Ave. Call Yingsa. She's the founder and operator. And they're now the 10th largest accounting firm in Iowa because they've done a great job at reaching out to the community. The number to call, 288-3188, 288-3188. And again, it depends on what you've got to do in terms of filing, but if you're just a basic W-2 person, you're looking at $97. You can't beat that. I'll be back in a minute, folks.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Community CPA is the 15th largest CPA firm in Iowa, providing audit, tax, and accounting services. Community CPA specializes in international tax treaty and double taxation avoidance among countries and states. 9 dedicated, experienced, hardworking staff are the company's foundation, and their compassion towards every client is the secret behind Community CPA's success. At Community CPA, you can expect quality service year-round. Call 288-3188. Community CPA, 3816 Ingersoll. Experience the difference.
This is Dr. Holding, the Story County Veterinary Clinic. For 15 years, we have been spaying and neutering feral cat groups at affordable prices. Wild cats destroy game birds and songbirds. A single female cat can produce over 4,000 kittens in 7 years. The shelters are full, so unwanted kittens will be put to sleep. Your cats will stay home and stay healthy. Call us for all your dog and cat needs at the Story County Veterinary Clinic between Ames and Nevada on Highway 30, 1 mile east of Interstate 35, 515-232-8766.
Since 1994, Sid's Catering has graced Des Moines area events with quality service and rave reviews. Owner Sid Cohn's culinary career began with a Northeast Iowa vacation home for international clientele. Sid earned a Bachelor of Science in Hotel Restaurant Management and was the assistant clubhouse manager at Des Moines Golf and Country Club. Sid has a passion for fresh, local products and offers a wide range of options, including vegan, gluten-free, and ethnic. Mention the Fallon FOrum when you book your breakfast or lunch event and get 10% off. Contact Sid's Catering at 208-2091. That's Sid's Catering at 208-2091.
It's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
I love driving to Newton to see the races.
Me too, but I only have to drive across town.
You live in Newton?
Yep, Newton's got small town charm and it's close to Des Moines. I love the safe, friendly neighborhoods and family-owned businesses. And Newton's wind energy industry is really taking off.
How'd you find your home?
Dan Kelly with First Choice Realty. And Dan helped me find my office too.
Next time, instead of just speeding by, I'll stop in and check out Newton.
Why don't you check out Newton? Call Dan Kelly at 641-521-9260 or Dan Kelly at mchsi.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
That's the kind of music you would like, Joe Henry.
Yes, I would.
That's Max Wellman.
Yeah.
Max Wellman, folks, he'll be performing the 13th of March. Information about that on my website, fallonforum.com. Another exciting event coming up. There's a whole bunch of things coming up, but this one is the Morris Dingman Peace Dinner. This is an annual event, been going on for, I think, 30 years or so. This year's winner of the Peace Award, Sally Frank, law professor from Drake University. And also I'm excited to hear the keynote speaker is Sister Simone Campbell. Think Nuns on the Bus. That should be a fun evening. That's going to be March 9th at Our Lady's Immaculate Heart Church in Ankeny. $40 sounds like a lot of money, but it's a good cause. It goes to the Catholic Peace Ministry, and it goes to a fantastic dinner. So check them out, folks. That's March 9th, 6 o'clock p.m. at Our Lady's Immaculate Heart in Ankeny. Also, don't forget the Equal Justice After Hours Iowa Legal AIDS event coming up the end of next month, March 28th. That's going to be at the Temple for the Performing Arts. Again, more information about that on my website. One more event this coming Friday, March 1st. It's my birthday, it's Sequester Day, it's Frederick Chopin's birthday, and it's also the day that I will be making an announcement relevant to the campaign. So, folks, that's going to be at Raccoon River Brew Pub. Again, come and celebrate with me from 5 o'clock on, and at 6:30 I will make said announcement. But
hey, wait a second. You're keeping it secret.
Yeah, because there's no taxpayer money involved. Okay, there's that. All right. Yeah, secrets are okay, especially on your birthday. Come on, lighten up, Andy.
I will.
All right,
loosen the tie.
All right. Before I want to talk with you about the timeline on this, Andy. But first, a little bit of background on the group that you're with, Joe. Save and support our schools.
Yeah, the organization's been around for 5 to 10 years, depending on which way you want to look at how they developed. But we're about saving neighborhood schools and also making sure that our kids get the type of education that they deserve, not just teachers, an adequate amount of teachers, but support staff, counselors, librarians, things like that they have schools to go to within their neighborhoods. There has been, within the last 10 years or so, some closing down of schools. We've been against that because we've always wanted to have those schools where kids can walk to school.
And a lot of that happened under Witherspoon.
True. Very true. Yeah. Very true.
I felt totally deceived, by the way. I mean, the local option sales tax, I think it took, was it 2 or 3 efforts to approve it? Mm-hmm. And it seemed like a good idea. And then a lot of that money was used to bulldoze older buildings in neighborhoods where kids used to be able to walk to school.
Right.
Yeah.
It just wasn't right. And they sold those buildings for a very low amount of money, which made no sense. Yeah. But the other thing is there's 32,000 kids in Des Moines schools, half of which are minorities. Most of that, 50%, are Latinos. And when it comes to minority populations, and I am a Latino myself, it's very critical to have the type of support staff and the teachers in K through 8. Because when it comes to education and the ability to make it through high school, we really need that support in those lower levels of education. And so we've been fighting on that. I've been participating on the advisory committee that the school district has held for the last 3 years. Good. I've been the only no vote when it's come to cuts. But this year, surprisingly, the committee is pushing for hiring more teachers, and we hope in turn that they will hire more counselors and librarians.
Good. Well, and I appreciate your willingness to make time to serve in that capacity. I mean, you don't have any kids in the school right now.
No,
you did. You and I both had 2.
My kids were the 3rd generation through Des Moines schools.
Yeah. So, I mean,
they're in their 20s.
I mean, that's commendable. And I know you're a very successul realtor. I just saw your picture in the paper among a group of realtors who excelled.
Yeah.
So you're doing well to find the time to do that. It's appreciated. What about your initiative, Thatcher? The effort to get people to be aware that Tom Ahart is a candidate and it would be a good one. I mean, what kind of support is that petition drawing?
It's actually drawing quite a good support, especially when you consider that the average school board election has approximately 5,000 to 8,000 participants who actually vote in the elections. You know, we're coming upon 200 individuals who have so far found our Facebook page that we're supporting Tom Ahart for the permanent position. And this comes back to you talking about children in the schools. I have a 6-year-old currently at Phillips Traditional, and involved with the PTA there. So, kind of getting back into the swing of things. When I was younger, I was a bit more active in Des Moines Public School activities and so forth. But coming back into the system, finding some of the great advances that have gone on, as well as some of the shortcomings. Especially with what Joe Henry had said.
Right.
But we are seeing a growth in the support on the Facebook page. We're hoping that we can show that again, we have qualified individuals in the Des Moines School District already.
Right.
And I understand good business says you go and you make a national search. But I think great business says you go and you look at the individuals who are in your school district and say, this is our leader.
Right. Yeah, and that's that worked well for the city of Des Moines when it chose to hire Rick Clark.
Exactly.
So, and it has not worked well for the city, for the Des Moines Public School District to hire folks from far and wide who have not worked out all that well. So I hope that continues. And again, folks, I will repost that Facebook that page on my Facebook page. Again, that's regarding Tom Ahart. And again, there may be other qualified local people running, but to me, it makes so much sense to hire local and also to hire folks with an education background. It disturbs me to hear conversations at the state level even about allowing folks who may be the CEO of a big corporation to qualify for being the next superintendent, or let somebody who happens to be a decorated, war general. I mean, I don't know how. Yeah. I mean, maybe maybe I could be. I mean, I'm the CEO of the Fallon FOrum.
Yeah.
I happen to also be the only employee. But I mean, maybe I could qualify to run the Des Moines School District. What do you think?
You got to get to the secret bunker quick because they're doing interviews right now.
Bunker quick. Okay.
But I tend to agree that that would be like me saying I'm going to go to Mercy and do a surgery right now. I mean, you need to have some experience in the education world of some type. We prefer someone who's taught so they understand the classroom environment, but that needs to be part of the equation, I think. Otherwise, in most of the cases where it's been a CEO or a general, it's been a person who comes in and they're just going to, pardon my French, kick ass and take names and, start pushing around the teachers union and everything else. And we don't need that here in Des Moines. That's not necessary in this school district.
So what you mentioned the bunker. Somewhere east of downtown Des Moines, there is
Dean
a bunker. On Dean Avenue. And the school board members are cloistered there with who knows who. But what is the timeline? What are we looking at in terms of moving forward toward a decision?
It will be faster than picking the next pope, I can assure you that. It's we have the semifinalists are being interviewed.
Probably no less secretive.
No, yeah, exactly. There'll be smoke coming from the chimney of Dean Avenue. But this week, 6 semifinalists are being interviewed, and that's happening at Dean Avenue throughout the week in secrecy. And then, according to what I understand, next week, then the 3 finalists will be chosen, and then at that point, there will be some type of community input again, run by the consultant firm.
Okay.
They'll bring in members of the community to sit in on interviews of these 3 candidates, and then the school board will make their decision. I think by the end of this month, we should know.
So there were 49 candidates originally, and they've already been through that list, and they've narrowed it down to 6.
Right.
But we don't even know who those 49 were.
Right. We don't know the 49. The school board was given a list of, I think, 16 and cut it down to 6.
A hiring committee of, I don't know who was made.
Ray and Associates, it's a consulting group that does these kind of searches for superintendents for school boards.
What do they charge?
I believe it was around $30,000 dollars to do this search, which is the starting salary of one teacher. So.
Yes. Yeah, nice work if you can get it.
Yeah.
For how much were they putting in a couple months worth of work?
Well, yeah. What they usually do is they go out, they put out ads in newspapers and the like and trade magazines, and they usually have a stable of people who have their resumes already on file, and they bring those in and then go from there. So
Joe, what's next in terms of the the process is done. We know who our new superintendent is. We like it. If we don't like it, we lump it. But there is an opportunity for people to express how they feel about school board secrecy and other issues. And again, maybe beyond the secrecy question, there are plenty of good reasons why you might want to reelect some of the current school board members. I'm not saying that's not the case. But maybe somebody would be saying that. Yeah. But there is an election this fall.
Correct. And that's what I was going to say. We're going to have some ward elections. So this will be the first time ever.
This is the first time it's by ward, like the city council.
So people will have an opportunity to elect a representative from their region of Des Moines. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think we have... is it 2 wards that are coming up for election?
2 wards and 2
wards.
And I'm pretty sure
the north and the south.
So we have the south side. South side, for example, has a ward. 50,000 people live on the south side of Des Moines. Our voices have really never been heard.
That's
before.
right. You're from the south
side. Actually, it's North and east, I believe.
North and
this
east.
time, yeah.
Okay,
And then,
north and
Then in
east.
2015, it's the west and south.
Northeast
that it?
plus
Okay.
1,
Two.
plus 2. So a majority of the board will be
Absolutely.
elected this fall.
Exactly.
So if you like the folks on the board, you could preserve the status quo, or you could actually just totally clean house.
Well, the sad thing is people really don't know who's on the board because on the average, only about 7,000 people vote during the school board elections, which happen in September instead of November. So it's very hard. And until those elections change to the general elections that usually happen in November, it's going to be hard.
And is that going to happen? I mean, this has been a step forward. The step forward is that we now elect school board, well, starting this fall, we'll elect school board members based on kind of a geographic proportionment of the city. That makes a lot of sense. But what would make even more sense would be having the election occur with the general election.
Correct.
Is there a movement to do that?
I
am
at
not
this
aware of
point.
one.
It's a
No?
state legislature type
Yes,
thing.
it would be.
It will continue to be brought up. There's not enough groups that are moving on that issue. But until then, with the ward elections, this will allow people within the community, within those particular wards, to be able to run who may not have had the chance before, because it's always cost a certain amount of money to be able to be a candidate, and it's really cost more than most average citizens could afford.
Now, how does the Des Moines Area Education Association, how does the DMEA feel about this change? Is this something you support?
We neither supported or opposed it. We do think that it will be a better way to get different. You were talking about the South Side, for example, getting them represented more, because honestly, the West Side is overrepresented on the school board almost every year, and so we need to get a little bit more geographic diversity on the school board. So I think we're fine with it. What we are concerned about is finding those candidates who are informed and interested, and that's going to be the big challenge, is finding candidates.
Well, it is. I mean, it's a job that pays nothing.
That's right.
I mean, you can be on the Board of Regents and get paid really well, but be in charge of the biggest school district in the state of Iowa and you get paid squat.
Right.
So I understand. I mean, this is a big sacrifice these people make.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and it's
But things are changing though. Over the last since 2008, the neighborhood associations in the city have continued to build up an activity. There's 54 neighborhood associations in Des Moines. The activity level has definitely increased, so there's more of an awareness. So you have neighbors getting involved. So the next step, the way I see it, is for these neighbors in their neighborhood associations to start getting involved in ward elections. So I see that happening.
Now you're an East Sider, Thatcher.
North side.
Oh, North Side. Okay, but
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Okay, you're that side
I
of the
straddle
river.
actually both North and East High's boundaries. It
Okay.
depends on what day of the week it is. Which
But
school
you're
district I'm
you're in the area of the city that has seen less representation on the school board.
Correct.
So
And currently there is no current school board member that lives in what will be the future District 2, which essentially is mostly North High School's area.
Okay, well, that will be interesting to see. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Again, I'm sorry I was not able to get anybody from the school board itself here. Maybe that says some things. But anyway,
let's go over to Dean Avenue and see if we
go to Dean Avenue, see if we can get in.
Yeah.
See if the smoke is coming out of the chimney and the new superintendent has been selected. Anyway, folks, thanks for joining us. Again, I want to thank Hawk Restaurant for being a sponsor of this segment of our show. Hawk is at East 5th and Walnut, a new restaurant that gets about 90% of its food from local sources. That's pretty impressive, 90%. They're fantastic too. Check out the lunch and dinner menu there at Hawk Restaurant at East 5th and Walnut. I want to thank Maddie Arrington, my producer. I want to thank Webcast One Live for providing the studio for the show. I want to remind you that I'll be back tomorrow at 12 noon. We're going to be talking. About a district, a problem in a neighboring area in Ames. There are issues over the decision made regarding how many people can live in any one place. That's creating quite a little bit of a scandal. We'll talk about that tomorrow and a bunch of other stuff as well. Stay around.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home